Hello, everyone. Hopefully, everyone can see us and is tuning in. So we got some viewers popping in there. Hello, GM from wherever you are in the world. I know some of you will be joining us from Latin America, some of us from other parts of the world. Super excited to have each and every one of you joining us here for a super exciting hackathon that's been in the works for a bit. Luckily, we have some really great partners that we're working with this on. And it's going to be really exciting to see what people are able to build and see the creativity that comes from the base ecosystem, the Squid ecosystem, and I know the Law Multisig's got their share of great developers that they're bringing in, and lots of other partners like Base LATAM and a few others that I'm sure will join us here and there. So super excited to see what people were able to build. This opening ceremony is just a place for us to sort of kick things off and show you what we got in the works, show you kind of what's going to happen in terms of kind of the rules of the hackathon, what to expect, prizes, how you can obviously make sure you're eligible for those, and then what you can expect for the schedule of the hackathon as well. So yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and kick us off here. So yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining in. This is the opening ceremony, and with this, we just want to really let you know what's going to be happening with the logistics of the hackathon. We're going to get to La Multisig is going to intro themselves and show us the state of Latin America and the crypto market there. We got Max Howell from T here who's going to introduce us. A lot of you might already know, but hopefully you got some newbies to the T ecosystem as well. You can learn a lot more about who we are and what we have to offer to open source space and Web3 on-chain space. We have Will here from Base who's going to give us a bit of an intro as to kind of what to build, where to find things, and how to really maximize this hackathon. And then we have Natalia here from Squid. She's also going to give us a bit of a background of the Squid ecosystem, previously SubSquid. You guys have been around and following them and their journey. It's been super cool, and can't wait to see more about that. And yeah, we'll answer some questions. If you guys have any, definitely comment them on the Twitter post. We should be able to see them here and hopefully respond to any questions you guys have about the hackathon. And yeah, kind of go from there. Cool. So the main purpose of this hackathon is really a gateway to learning, growing, and making an impact in the open source and on-chain ecosystem. Some people have mentioned really excited about getting to build in the base ecosystem and really try out the different tools and really the speed and capability of that blockchain is super exciting. So I know it's going to be cool to see what you guys build on that. It's really an open space for you guys to build. It's called an open hack for a reason. We really want people's creativity to kind of go wild and see what can be done and what can be built there. So yeah, super excited to see how that goes. Sorry about that. But yeah, with that, here's a bit of the timeline for the hackathon. So obviously we have the hackathon kickoff ceremony here, and after this, you should be able to start hacking on Taikai. So you'll start to be able to build your projects. Obviously, make sure you're building your team and you're getting everything ready there. And then all of the brainstorming and all of the building will be happening for about 4 weeks. So really tons of time, tons of space for that to happen. And then we'll have some workshops happening, obviously Base, Squid, T, and then we have a few other use case workshops. Some people that are building some really exciting things on the Base chain, so you get to see how those are implemented and how those are going, and really just see kind of where that goes. We have some office hours and project feedback. More details about that will be coming soon enough, and we'll give you guys the opportunity to really connect with different mentors in the hackathon, to ask any questions you might have, and hopefully get some good feedback. So we have people from the Base team, the Squid team, the T team. La Multisig has got a share of mentors that they're bringing in as well. So hopefully you guys can get any more technical questions answered and get some help there. And then September 4th, we're looking at the project submission deadline. So I mentioned tons of time to build lots of cool stuff. And, at that time, we'll have judges, which will kind of look at all the different submissions. You basically submitting a video of the project, of the demo that you'll be doing, kind of a presentation as to what you've built, why you've built it, and why you think it's going to succeed. And then from there, we'll have closing ceremony September 6th, where we'll kind of share who won and what we thought about the submissions and where things will go from there. Things might mix up. We might have some exciting announcements everywhere in between, so just keep on the lookout, and I'll tell you kind of what to expect there as well. So essentially, with the hackathon, we have some really great partners and sponsors here, which have made this happen, and we're really excited to put up at the moment, a 12.5K pool of prizes, which will be split up to the top 5 teams. And so, as mentioned, we'll have some judges which will be looking at and deciding, who that's going to be. But since it's very open and very creative, we should see lots of different types of projects being submitted, and we'll share a whole, kind of longer, detailed explanation as to what the judges will be looking for soon enough. So check on the Taikai page for that. And yeah, just ask any questions about the ideas that you have, and try to get as much feedback from mentors and from other people in the space that you can for the time being, and hopefully you'll be up in the top, getting some awards. So the requirements here, of course, we want you guys to build on-base. T protocol, which we'll share more about shortly, is built on base, and we're really excited to be collaborating and being a part of that ecosystem. There's tons of really exciting ideas already being built there, but there's also a lot that's still open to be built, and lots of issues out there, in the gaming space, and lots of different spaces, in the finance space, where you can utilize base. More on that soon, of course. And then utilize the Squid network. So this is, Natalia will share a bit more about it, but it's a way to bring in all the on-chain data that you'll need and have access to really make the project succeed and have everything it needs. So yeah, more about that soon. And then be open source and published on GitHub. Pretty easy requirement. Just make sure that what you're building, we can see it, we can track it, and as really an open source ecosystem here at T, we want to make sure that people are building things for a sustainable future, and making sure that what you guys are building will be accessible and usable, and hopefully lots of people will build on top of it in the future. So that's kind of the goal there. More stuff to remember. Make sure you use the matchmaking if you're looking for a team. So there's a matchmaking feature within Taikai. You can go to that page, and it'll have all the details there. You can say you're looking for a team or looking for a team member. Should be pretty easy to use. Let us know if you're having any issues with it, but you can also use the Discord to ask for different team members and start to network and stuff as well. Definitely ask mentors for help. So they're here to assist you guys in building and any troubleshooting you might have, anything like that. So make sure to engage in those channels in Discord, and we'll try to set up some dedicated time in office hours for you guys to ask more targeted questions as well. And make sure you're being creative and being professional. So a really key part of hackathons, and definitely virtual hackathons, is to make sure that you're putting the time into being organized, being easy to really understand your project and go through the code and go through the different pieces of it, so that judges don't have to spend a lot of time finding things when they're going and trying to understand what you've built and why you built it. So just make sure you're presenting yourself well, and you're really trying to use all the different brain power in your team. Hopefully have a good mix of skills and types of interests that can help push you forward. So yeah, looking forward to seeing those. And then make sure to join us in Discord if you haven't already. On the Taikai page, there's a link to the T Discord, and then you'll see there's a dedicated category and a few channels for the Onchain hackathon. And then we'll be updating Taikai with bigger updates and also putting announcements in the Discord. So hopefully you won't miss anything, and just make sure you're staying tuned. So yeah, we're really excited to be kind of building with Base and a part of the on-chain summer. This little graphic we put together, and lots of people have been kind of sharing these on the Warpcast and Twitter, and thought we'd put our little spin on it. And yeah, I think what's being built and during Onchain summer so far has been really amazing. I've seen lots of really creative projects from their hackathon that they've already done, and we're excited to be building on top of that and creating more innovative ideas as part of that initiative. You can learn more on the base website about Onchain Summer and the different rewards and things that are available. And then I know Will here is a great resource if you have any questions. Cool. I'll kind of wrap it up there with my presentation. We have a few more to get through, but just wanted to say thank you so much for registering. And if you haven't already, make sure to register. There's a link there that takes you to the Taikai page, so you can register there. It's pretty simple. It doesn't require a whole lot. And then make sure you're inviting your teammates and getting your friends involved that you can build with and hopefully create something cool with this. So yeah, thanks everyone. And with that, I will give it over to our next guest. We have Brian here from La Multisig.
Thank you, Ashton.
No worries.
We can share the slides and we can get started. But in the meantime, everyone, I'm Brian. I'm from Argentina, from La Multisig. I'm also from NeoPower. We are both companies that work to push crypto adoption, but from different landscapes. At NeoPower, we work on software, and at La Multisig, we work on brand exposure. And for this hackathon, we are super excited to collaborate with T Protocol. Um, but you may have noticed that there is the LATAM word in the name of the hackathon. So what is LATAM? Latin America is a huge region where many things are happening and most people in different parts of the world are not aware of this. So there's a huge opportunity regarding crypto. Uh, we are from Argentina and we know how this goes. You may have heard about different economic crises here and different types of problems that you can solve using technology, some others not. But for this hackathon, we are communicating how many people we have in Latin America, more than 670 million. It's a lot. There's a huge volume of assets being exchanged in Latin America, most of them in cash, which is kind of crazy. And we have the highest countries ranking in crypto adoption in the world. And that's because of something that's not so happy, unfortunately, is for in the case of Argentina, for example, that we have super high inflation, we have capital controls, but there's an opportunity here regarding the politics here in Argentina and the upside potential of the solutions we can create with crypto. So people need to escape from their own currency here because it's constantly devaluating. So they turn to different options like crypto. And what's going on, for example, in Argentina is that people with their own salary in Argentinian pesos, they buy stable coins um, just to store their money like that. So there are many opportunities to build products for Argentina, or if you are for example, from a country in Latin America, you may notice different things you can fix about your country. So this hackathon is about seizing that opportunity and expanding to other regions and emerging markets. But at La Multisig, we are all about community. You can see here that we're a lot of people, especially located in Buenos Aires, builders, investors, merchants, enthusiasts, developers. So they all work together and collaborate in events to come up with different ideas and solutions. And you will see different products being created from Latin America. It's something great that happens for a not so happy reason, but something that actually works. Um, our community hosts events here in Buenos Aires, but all over the world. We are hosting events in Colombia too, and looking to expand, mainly to bring crypto to everywhere. we also had an experience with a great hackathon that actually was more than a hackathon because we called it Build-A-thon, and this happened during Ethereum Argentina last year. Uh, we collaborated with a team from Ethereum Argentina, and it was a great experience. What we're looking for in a hackathon is to come up with an idea, bootstrap it, and create it, and get mentorship. But what happens afterwards, right? We don't want a hackathon project to be only that. We want to become a product to test if it has product market fit, and eventually to success, for the success of the project, because we think the society needs more products to solve real world problems, and there's a lot of builders that need these kind of opportunities to actually bootstrap and accelerate projects. So that's what we are doing with the protocol during this LATAM on-chain open hack. But I also want to thank Base and Subsquid because they are providing the best tech you have available to build products. So finally, to wrap up, you can follow us on Twitter, on different social media. Feel free to contact us through Discord. And if you are a Spanish speaker person, you can speak in Spanish. You have channels for that. So everyone is welcome for this online hackathon. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, super excited to see what people build. I know there's lots of things that can be solved in the Latin America region. Hopefully, you guys have things close to home that you're passionate about that will help you to really push a project forward to the next level. You know, not just build something to build it, but create something that's really gonna cause an impact and do something with real value to hopefully even your region or your local area. So yeah, really appreciate that. And any other questions you have about the LATAM region or anything Brian mentioned, then definitely hit him up. He'll be on the Discord, and so will a lot of the La Multisig team as well. So thanks so much. With that, we have Max Howell here, creator of Homebrew, CEO of PackageX, and the core contributor at T Protocol. Really going to give an overview, introduction as to what T is, what we're about, and what we're building. So with that, I'll hand it over. Thank you so much, Max.
Thanks, Ashton. Let me just change my hat. Hi, everyone. Really great to be here. Super pumped that T is involved in this hackathon. I'm Max Howell, created Homebrew back in the day. It's about 15 years ago now, in fact, but it's grown to become one of the biggest open source projects full time. Personally, I've always been into open source. It was how I got into software in the first place, discovered the communities online that were trying to do software in a new way that could really make the most of what the internet promised that it could be and how software promised it could be. I was on that journey that I discovered that personally it's my passion, and I wanted to work on open source full time. It's just that there never really was a way for that to happen, which is why I founded T about 2.5 years ago. The base behind T is the realization that, especially in the last 20, 25, maybe even 30 years, open source has become this behemoth that powers the modern internet and all modern software. Especially in the last 15, I found the nature of open source changed from being something that was considered to be kind of niche to being the base of everything. Web 2 itself really wouldn't exist without open source, and that was when like all the money really started flowing into what was possible on the internet and in software. And Web 3 is like the most open source iteration of the internet. And 97% of commercial code contains open source. Just recently, the Swiss government decided that from now on, they won't accept any software being used that isn't open source. And this is just the way that the world is heading. Everyone realizes the importance of it. And yet, the truth is that it's still free, unfunded, maintained by volunteers in their spare time. My personal experience with Homebrew was one where I discovered that it became more and more used by everybody developing software, and bigger companies that were very profitable were dependent on what I was making and what many of the other people involved in open source were making. But there wasn't a system in place to cause any of that value to trickle down to these fundamental pieces of infrastructure that they were depending on. The system that was used, the only one that people could figure out that fit was that of charity, where developers like myself would beg these huge companies making vast amounts of money to put a little bit on the side so that we could maybe consider working on it part-time. But the truth is, like nowadays, still most open source developers dedicate evenings and weekends to their open source. There isn't another way for them to work on these things full-time, despite the fact that all these companies and entities and people using it are completely dependent on it. They still need a full-time job to pay the bills. And recently, a study was published that said that the open source economy is worth $8.8 trillion. So at T Protocol, we consider that what we're building is a way to make the value of open source attributable to something. We think the protocol that we built can allow some of this enormous value to trickle down into the open source developers' stacks. And the truth is, it doesn't need to be as much as this, but maybe it could be. The way it works is that, for instance, I made another open source project called Promise Kit that at its peak was used by 100,000 apps in the App Store. If every one of those apps just donated $1 a year, I figured that that would be enough for me to work on open source full time. What we're trying to build with T is not a donation mechanism. It's not based on charity. The idea is that we build an economy on top, and we only need a small amount of all this value that is created in the software industry to integrate with that. I like this tweet from FFmpeg. FFmpeg's a pretty old open source project at this point, older than Homebrew even. And it powers all online video, all this enormous value in the space that people have figured out how to extract that value from consumers. And FFmpeg is woefully underfunded. It's just the nature and the state of things. Which is why 2.5 years ago, I realized that maybe there needed to be a new system. I was in between open source projects and full-time work once again. And I wanted to work on open source. I've spoken to hundreds of open source developers maintaining the key pieces of infrastructure that keep the internet running over the last couple of years. And almost without exception, all of them wanted an opportunity to work on open source full time. But the existing systems are all pretty similar. They all consider open source to be this charity, that the only way it's going to work is by expecting companies or even developers that have full-time jobs and use open source to donate. And charity is an important part of modern society for sure, but charity, it doesn't really work well enough for open source. Most developers really, all they can expect is a coffee to be donated to them. That's what they put in their README, buy me a coffee. The developer I met who was making the most with open source was making $22,000 a year. And $22,000 a year is not enough to work on open source full time in America where he lived. So I realized that maybe if there was going to be a way to do this, it needed to be different, it needed to be new. And so I looked into things and I realized that maybe with crypto, there was a way to do this, because crypto enables new kinds of economic systems. And the economic systems that we have in the normal financial world only led to charity. With crypto, we can build something which, with tokenomics, can make a cycle that works for sustaining open source by building like new economic systems on top of it, which is what we built. And I realized that open source also slots into the on-chain model perfectly. I think a lot of people who've been in Web3 longer than I have realized this very early on, that Web3 was open source from the start. And the way the communities work there is exactly how open source already works. Open source devs who already have embraced Web3 realize this very quickly. And we think that what we're building at T will show the remainder of open source devs who are still strictly in a Web2 kind of mindset of things, that Web3 really is the future and isn't just something that they shouldn't be paying attention to, which I think happens with quite a lot of the open source devs at the moment. The ones I've spoken to have usually been like somewhat skeptical about Web3, but after seeing how we're trying to build this genuine utility on top of the technologies in this space, I've become way more interested and see like an optimistic and bright future, and they're excited for our mainnet that will be going live later this year. The way T works is with these four mechanisms. Our primary one is proof of contribution, where we've taken the entire open source graph, all 10.5 million projects, and figured out how much value each one of those projects has. We used a system quite similar to how Google does PageRank for websites to use the dependency graphs of different package managers. This was really my moment of inspiration when coming up with this project, to assign ranks. And this means that the projects that all are scattered all over the open source graph, open source is enormous in its scope, can get rewarded for their impact. And they don't have to necessarily be these popular projects, the favorites of open source that already attract enough attention and maybe donations. Also, on-chain governance being so important. Every open source project has a governance system in place already. By putting it on chain, we really think we can like show them the value of Web3 on-chain governance and take it to the next level. We give rewards based on the contribution. This is really one of the main primary essences of the T protocol, the idea that open source developers should be rewarded for the immense contributions that they already deliver to the world of software. So every 24 hours on our testnet and later our mainnet, we funnel T token to open source projects that have onboarded simply based on how important they are, not necessarily based on how many downloads or other metrics like GitHub stars that other people use to see how popular projects are. We figured out their actual impact and reward those developers accordingly so they can think about going full-time into open source. And also, crucially, we invite non-developers to participate in the value of this ecosystem of open source. The estimate of $8.8 trillion of value in open source itself, we want people who don't necessarily understand what open source is to be able to participate in that value ecosystem. What we've seen during our testnet is over 1.5 million people sign up based on this narrative that we are pushing and surfacing to them, that open source has enormous value. And yet, until now, there hasn't been a way to participate in that. We have 4 demand drivers, well, main demand drivers to our protocol that will be launching later this year. Gas fees are denominated in T token. We're using paymasters to convert on the fly. We have restricted access like many protocols. Obviously, on-chain governance, very important. And the security of the open source ecosystem is a demand driver using bounties and vulnerability reports. This is something I'm especially excited about, seeing as I know that open source has security issues, as we see time and time again every few months, major issues in the open source system. And this is because the incentives for open source developers just aren't there. Now, what's the incentive to secure your open source if nobody is helping you to maintain it in any incentivized and proper manner? So we're bringing that in as an extra advantage to everybody in using the T protocol. Of course, we built on Base, which we're super happy about. We met the Base developers when we were figuring out which protocol layer 2 to work upon. And we've had a great working relationship with them. It's great. It's a super great network. We love it. And very happy to be here with Base to have this hackathon and all the other parts of what we're doing with them. And as I said, we're on our testnet's been live a few months now. We have more than 1.6 million people signed up and using the testnet with more than 16,500 open source projects. Really pumped about how the community has reacted to what we're putting out there and understanding about what we're trying to build and how we're trying to change open source for the better. So mainnet's coming hopefully very soon. So there's still time to sign up to the testnet, onboard your open source projects, or just participate if you don't have open source projects in what we're trying to create. So yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Max. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's really, it goes to show when you start with a huge problem like this, and you apply crypto and on-chain pieces to it, what it can what can happen. So we're super excited for mainnet launching and for everything else that's coming up. Definitely stay tuned. Thanks so much, Max. And with that, we'll kick it over to our next presenter. Who we have here? Hey, Will, how's it going?
Hey, it's going pretty well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we sure can.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for being with me, remoting in for this, but just so thankful to get to be here with you all. I think this open hack is just probably one of the most special times that I've ever seen where we are in the ecosystem to be working on base since the beginning. My story started probably way over a decade ago. I started on Bitcoin probably back in 2013. Moved on to Ethereum, and it's really just for the last even more than a year and a half full steam on base. And so, just the key things that I wanted to communicate are like with Bitcoin, it's just been such a new era for us. So much talent building around it. We've seen like in that span that we have like scaling issues. Oh, it's too slow. Can't use this for like remittances, buy a cup of coffee. It takes 10 minutes. And then with the advent of Ethereums that we can do, but we've also run into scaling, but it's too expensive. We can't use this for remittances. We can't. That we're actually not blocked by the technology anymore. We can actually build on chain and unlock a new era of apps that make a better world. And so, like what Max is talking about, what others are talking about, is just a really cool to come to the space. I kind of think it's like our own moment. Crypto, you all really have an opportunity to build in this year, but you all are still the first builders. So that's just the main thing that I wanted to say. I'm just really excited to be part of this, and we have a workshop coming up. In the meantime, like, you know, there's just a bunch of great ways to get started building on base. I think the first stop should just be docs.base.org and the base channel that we have in the T Protocol Discord. So I'm in there, and we'll be in touch. So it's going to be an exciting month.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. I know we might have a little bit of internet issues here and there, but I think hopefully people got the gist of it, and we'll make sure we get you a proper session next time around. And I know
Thank you.
A good workshop soon. But thanks so much, Will.
Thanks so much. See y'all.
Nice. Amazing. So with that, we have Natalia from the SubSquid SQD team, as it is now, who's going to be sharing a bit about what SubSquid is, what the ecosystem looks like, how to use the network, how to get started building, and all that good stuff. Yeah, super excited to hear from you, Natalia. Why don't you go ahead and take it away if you can.
Hey everyone, thanks so much. I'm Nati Chain. I'm also from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I'm the BD at SQD, formerly SubSquid, if you already heard about us. So I'm super excited as a LATAM person to be participating on this LATAM Onchain Open Hackathon to tell you more about SQD. So it's SQD. It's a decentralized and super scalable data platform. I would like to start more like with this first slide. So let's talk about indexing as a whole first, and then I'm going to share what you will need to build an indexer using SQD. So basically, indexing is how we organize and store blockchain data. Without good indexing, most advanced blockchain application just wouldn't be possible. Why is indexing needed? Indexing is a key for scaling and providing a great user experience in different decentralized applications, and it makes complex queries fast and efficient, which is essential for building anything from DeFi applications, social networks, NFTs, games, analytic tools, AI, etc. So what is SQD? Is the, let's say, is the most flexible way to get data into your decentralized application. And how do we do it? Through our network. So the SQD network is a distribute carry engine and data lake that the entire SQD ecosystem is built around. And a squid, you will see this word a lot in our documentation. A squid is an indexing project built with our SDK, our squid SDK, to retrieve and process blockchain data from the SQD network. So SQD right now serves historical on-chain data, like as you will see here, even logs, transaction receipts, traces, and per transaction status. So how you can power your decentralized application using our SQD. So let's dive into the developer kit that SQD offers for this hackathon. Our toolkit, which is an open source SDK in TypeScript, lets you build custom indexers with your own logic. So with our data archives, you can index data at a blazing speed of up to 150,000 blocks per second. And we have got everything you need to get started quickly. So this is like different. You will see all these links on the website hackathon. So don't worry about these links right now. Just a quick start on how to use our platform. 5-minute guide on building an indexer with the SQD SDK. A repo with examples and our comprehensive docs to give you through everything. So here you will see, for instance, you can use our SDK to build an indexer that fetch, for example, all historical USDC transfer on Ethereum from the SQD networks. And you can decode them, save them to a local Postgres database, and start a GraphQL server with a rich API to query these transfers. But you will learn more about this on the workshops for this hackathon next week. So to finalize this quick introduction about us, why choose SQD? Because it's optimized for speed and flexibility. Whether you're building a DeFi application, so I encourage you all to take advantage of SQD in your projects. And yeah, you can find all the resources and support you need on our documentation. And also we will answer some questions on the TIA Discord. And yeah, thanks for your attention, and I can't wait to see what you all come with using our SQD during this hackathon. So yeah, let's build. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Natalia. Really great to have another really awesome toolkit that's open source, that's building the right things for the right reasons, to be a sponsor of the hackathon, and really excited to see how people use SQD in different ways, and really can't wait to see all that on-chain data in lots of ways. So thank you so much, Natalia. Thanks so much, everyone else, for tuning in. Just wanted to leave you with this last slides, and just say, if you haven't obviously registered already, make sure you do that. Invite your friends, invite your fellow hackers, colleagues, whoever it might be, to hack alongside you. Minimum requirements would be two people per team, and then maximum of 6. So make sure you get people in. Start brainstorming. We'll set it live on Taikai right after this, so you should be able to start building your projects with your team. And yeah, I really just can't wait to see what you guys build, and what creativity comes of it and what innovation there is. Yeah, if you have any questions, definitely drop them in the Discord. Don't see anything on the Twitter right now to address, but we'll be in and out there answering any questions you guys have. And next week we'll have quite a few workshops from sponsors to dive into things, and then we'll also have some more use cases that are built on the base blockchain, so you can see what possibilities are out there. But yeah, with that, see you guys soon enough, and yeah, can't wait to see what happens. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye bye.